The cubs were laughing at her. Mara Ellison could tell, even though the Veyrath young didn't laugh the way humans did. Their laughter was a low, chittering rumble in their chest plates, like gravel rolling inside a drum. 6 of them sat on the simulation floor of the GSV Covenant's training bay, their obsidian claws folded politely in their laps, their 4 golden eyes each blinking in slow, amused rotation. They were trying to be respectful. They were failing. "Instructor Ellison," said the one in the front, Kale Vera, barely 3 cycles old, which made him roughly equivalent to a human 12-year-old, if that 12-year-old weighed 200 kilograms and had a jaw that could bite through ship-grade aluminum. His translator bead glowed amber at his throat. "With respect, you want us to hide?" "I want you to use cover," Mara said, crossing her arms. "Yes." Another rumble moved through the group. Kale's ridge crests, the bony fan of cartilage that ran crown to neck on Veyrath, flared slightly. Amusement. Mild disbelief. "Our trainers say that hiding is for prey," he said. "Your trainers," Mara replied, walking to the holographic terrain table and pulling up a battlefield map, "have never fought humans." That quieted them. She had 48 hours with these cubs. The Interspecies Coalition military exchange program was 3 years old now, and it sent junior soldiers of allied species to human instructors for what the diplomatic brief cheerfully called cross-cultural tactical enrichment. What it actually was, Mara had learned, was a polite way of saying, "Your people are good fighters, but humans fight weird, and we want our young to at least understand weird before they end up next to it in a trench." The Veyrath were apex predators from a high-gravity world. They were fast, armored, ferocious, and possessed of a proud warrior culture that went back 11,000 years. They did not hide. They did not retreat. They charged, they flanked, they overwhelmed through sheer terrifying presence. They also lost, badly, every single time they ran joint simulations against human units. "Pull-up exercise Sigma 7, Mara told the Bay AI. The holographic terrain shimmered into existence, a ruined urban environment, broken towers, collapsed bridges, debris fields across every approach vector. "This was a real engagement," she said. 40 years ago. Contested colony world, Kepler 438b. Human defenders, 112 soldiers, against a Vothrani assault force of 900. Kale's head tilted. The humans lost. The humans won. Silence. Even the chittering stopped. Mara let that sit for a moment, the way her own instructor had let it sit for her when she was 17 and newly enrolled and sure she already understood everything worth understanding. "Vothrani are bigger than you," she continued. "Faster. They regenerate tissue damage in the field. They attacked with 9-to-1 odds, and they lost because the human commander understood one thing your trainers have never taught you." She looked directly at Kale. The terrain was also a weapon. She walked them through it, not as a lecture, but as a dissection. Every human position. Every ambush corridor. Every false retreat that pulled Vothrani forces into kill zones that had been prepared days before the assault even began. The humans hadn't fought the enemy. They'd fought the map and made the enemy come to them. The cubs were quiet in a different way now. Not the quiet of politeness. The quiet of attention. "You're saying," Kale said slowly, ridge crests lowering in a posture Mara had learned to read as focus, "that the humans already won before the fight started. Now you're getting it." She ran them through the basics that first morning. Not combat drills, those would come later. First, how to read ground. How to identify what humans called dead ground, terrain invisible to enemy fire. How to think three-dimensionally in built environments. How to ask, always, "Where does the enemy want me to go?" And then go somewhere else. The cubs were fast learners. Faster than she'd expected, though she'd learned never to say that out loud because Veyrath considered it mildly insulting, the implication being that you'd expected them to be slow. Kale, in particular, absorbed it with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. He asked the right questions. The sharp ones. What if the terrain is flat? What if you have no time to prepare? What if your enemy also knows these techniques? Then, Mara said, you understand each other. And the one who improvises better wins. By the second day, she had them running scenarios. The first 3, they lost. They kept defaulting to instinct, to the direct charge, the aggressive push. Old muscle memory from 11,000 years of evolutionary success. She didn't scold them. She ran the playback, showed them the moment the simulation marked them as casualties, let them see it for themselves. Kale stared at the holographic replay of his own death, a simulated human sniper, positioned in a ruin they'd walked right past, for a long time. You knew we'd miss it, he said. I hoped you'd miss it, Mara corrected. So you'd remember not to. Something shifted in him after that. She could see it in the way he started moving through the sim terrain, slower, more deliberate, his golden eyes sweeping not just ahead but up, behind, into corners. He started talking to his group differently too. Less follow me and more you take that side, I'll draw their attention. He was learning to split his thinking. To be 2 places at once in his mind, where he was, and where the enemy thought he was. On the morning of the 3rd day, she sent them into a full simulation against an adult Veyrath fire team. 6 against 6. Standard rules of engagement. She watched from the observation deck. The adults moved the way Veyrath always moved, with supreme, earned confidence. They expected cubs. They expected the direct challenge. What they got was Kale Vera pulling the oldest human trick in the manual. He sent 1 cub forward. Just one, making noise, drawing eyes, exactly aggressive enough to look like a young soldier who didn't know better. The adult team moved to engage. And the other 5 came from 3 separate directions, from positions they'd occupied in silence for 11 minutes while the distraction played out. The simulation called the engagement over in 40 seconds. Adults, 0 survivors. Cubs, 1 minor casualty. The adults stood very still in the sudden quiet of the bay. Mara was already walking down to the floor when Kale found her. He stopped in front of her, ridge crests at an angle she'd learned to read as something close to satisfaction, but restrained, careful. The terrain, he said. The terrain, she agreed. We used them as the terrain. Mara smiled. Now you're thinking like a human. He was quiet for a moment. Then, with great dignity, I am not certain whether that is a compliment. It's the highest one I know how to give. He considered that. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a Veyrath gesture of acceptance, or perhaps of something softer. Respect, maybe. The kind that moves in both directions. Instructor Ellison, he said finally. Will you teach us more? Outside the Covenant's viewports, the stars held their positions, ancient and indifferent. Inside, in a training bay that smelled of recycled air and effort, a human and a predator cub stood in the aftermath of a small revolution. That, said Mara Ellison, is exactly what I'm here for. HFY, because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy isn't the sharpest claw. It's the species that learn to use everything else as a weapon first.